Welcome back. You're watching this very special broadcast to discuss the categories of Indian of the Year 2024. And today we're discussing a very special category, and that is the Youth Icon. Who is going to be as far as the nominees are concerned? Let's first take a look at the nominees that I have for you right here behind me. We begin with, of course, Nancy Tyagi. Well, a self-taught designer and stylist and social media sensation, Nancy Tyagi made heads turn with a self-crafted 20-kilogram pink gown during her Cannes debut. She also turned designer for Ananya Pandey with a custom couture piece recently. Now, the second person on the list is the very popular Janhvi Kapoor. Now, she became the talk of the town for multiple viral moments from media interactions. In fact, Ulaj and Mr. and Mrs. Mahi, and also her songs were the talk of the town. And of course, her film with Junior NTR was something that everybody is still talking about. Next up, we have Vicky Kaushal, another popular actor who probably will be taking the cake or not. We are yet to actually go ahead and decide on that, but it is going to be a tough tie because of the names that we have on this particular list. But what do we say about Vicky Kaushal? The actor once again emerged as a national heartthrob with the chart-buster party anthem Toba Toba from Bad News. Then his moves shot up his popularity across social media like never before. You'd seen everybody doing that Toba Toba number, and that was a rage on social media. Now, next up, we have Nikhil Kamath. He is one of the biggest investors in India. Nikhil Kamath made headlines for his podcast People by WTF, and he recently became the youngest Indian to pledge 50% of his wealth through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Last but not the least, we have Jaya Kishori as part of the nominee list as far as the youth icon this year is concerned. A motivational speaker, spiritual orator and life coach. She's known for her inspiring messages and leadership skills. She is popularly known as the Meera of the modern world. Let me take this back to my guest to discuss these very nominees on this very popular category, the Youth Icon 2024 Indian of the Year. And for that, I go back to my guests who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Mayank, shall I begin with you? Is it going to be people from the filmdom or others?
You know, the last conversation on Entertainer of the Year and where we mentioned Shraddha Kapoor was so much about how there's a pivot in entertainment. And it can come from any screen, it can come from any place. And I think in that sense, podcast was a big thing of 2024. You know, and literally everyone now who has a social media handle appears to have a podcast also. And of course, there is a clutter. In that clutter, you will have something that truly sticks out. And I think it could well be because Ranbir was on Nikhil Kamath's podcast. That's where I really got introduced to it. No, I think this was the most mainstream podcast, or in a certain way, there was a mainstreaming of podcasts that happened in 2024. And if there was a face to put to it, it would be Nikhil. Besides being, of course, a startup founder, besides being, of course, a business person, I think he's brought something new to a general landscape of entertainment and consumption, content consumption. So in that sense, in this particular year, for that fact of how podcast got mainstream, I'll pick Nikhil.
Nikhil is Mayank's pick. Mandira, what about you?
Well, as I said, it's very difficult, but Vicky, I've seen his lots of movies right now, and I think he's amazing, a very intense actor. He's done many different roles, and coming from an engineering background, then to be doing acting, I find him in fashion world very stylish also, and amazing actor. So for me, he would be one of my choice.
Did you try the Toba Toba move that was so viral on social media this entire 2024 or not? Ricky, your turn.
I think for me, it would be a clear winner would be actually Nikhil Kamath for various reasons. One is that, as was mentioned, you know, that I think his podcast was really cool. He would discuss various topics, whether it's his health, finance, films, content creation, politics, self-help stuff. And so he would cover a various number of topics, and it was helpful for pretty much any demographic in India, not just the youth. And second thing is that his investments also. He's a very responsible investor, and he invests in a lot of green energy companies, and companies which are associated with sustainability. And he puts that at the core of his investing sometimes. And of course, at such a young age, he's one of the biggest philanthropists in the country. So I would strongly recommend that it would be Nikhil Kamath, simply because if you're looking at a youth icon, I think you don't get any bigger than him.
All right, so 2 votes on this panel for Nikhil Kamath. Soumitra, what about you?
I'm confused with Nikhil and Vicky, but I would be going for Vicky only.
Okay.
And the reason is, again, the background of as an engineer, then into coming to film, the like son of action director, Mr. Sham Kaushal sir. It's very difficult, but though the film, the cinema he picked, the script he chose, and the way he, the act, it's very versatile, and it's also again a mass gaining public he would approach. And the upcoming films, so he has a varieties of commercial and good cinema doing it. So I will go with Vicky again.
All right. It's a tie. It's a tie between Nikhil and Vicky. Now, Mayank, you very nicely put this entire mainstreaming of podcast aspect, because whenever we're talking about popularity or whether this person is a youth icon, we go to either films or sports, especially cricket. And sadly, not any other sport here in India. And that's the sad part of it. But the fact that the youth is watching Nikhil and they are really making the podcast popular and they go to the conversations that he has, that is what is expanding this entire scope of this entire category that we are discussing today. And that is why people who are coming in from the film industry, who are also there on the nominee list, do not have an easy walk as far as this particular category is concerned, even though we have a tie between Vicky and Nikhil as far as you guys are concerned. But it is going to be a tough choice. But what about the others? There's Janvi also, there's Jaya Kishori, there's Nancy Tyagi. She made heads turn.
Yeah, I really...
Well, exactly. I think the beauty of an open-ended category like youth icon is it also reveals names that you may not have heard of so much before. And what this has done to me is I'm certainly going to go back from the discussion and read up a little more about or consume more of the works of Jaya and Nancy. And that's what it does. Within entertainment, these are all entertainers. With a youth icon, it can go from anyone. I'm so glad that it's not just cricket and Bollywood anymore. We need to expand that spectrum. The icons can come from multiple fields, and we can be inspired by people in multiple fields. And in that sense, that's why I don't agree with Vicky Kaushal, not because he's Bollywood, but because there was nothing, because this is an award for 2024, right? There's nothing in this particular year that he's done where he's totally, stands out. He didn't emerge in this year. He's always an engineer, even before that, right? Yes, there's Toba Toba, and that was the dance step, the hook step of 2024. And I think pretty much everyone, 31st night, on the eve, at 12 o'clock,
but do you think people went so insane with it? But that's why everybody's talking about Vicky Kaushal, because Toba Toba was everywhere. It still is.
Yeah, but the movie is bad news. That movie itself was bad news. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's had a great year as an actor on the screen. I think 2025 could belong to him, which how has a big budget, on Maratha royalty that he's playing. And so I look out for him for 2025, maybe not 2024.
Okay. And Mandira, I saw your eyes light up at the mention of Nancy Tyagi, or was it Janvi Kapoor? Who was it, Mandira?
Well, they're both very nice, but for Nancy especially, because if you look at her story, she comes from a very humble background, and what she's done for her family, basically for her mother, she started off doing what she's doing in terms of media and her going to Cannes and everything is because she wanted her mother out of the factory. It's a very beautiful story if you really understand her way of starting off, her brother supporting her. She's doing what she's doing for her mother, her fashion statement. It's a very beautiful story, and I think maybe one day, maybe someone will going to make a movie also. So I do like her. storyline. Yes.
Absolutely. Soumitra, would you be that one taker to make a film out of a life that Nancy has led? Because of course it is something which is a rags to riches story, something that Hindi film cinema, the film industry really goes ahead and looks at films and stories like this, and
Very
it has many
motivational for
takers.
the youth. Yeah, very motivational for the
Yeah,
youth.
yeah, would love to do. That's there's no other option to say no. And if the I come to Wiki again, it's not just Toba Toba thing. For the to get the nominees for Wiki. See, I see his films, and with all these stars around him, he always come out. Whether it's Masan, whether it's Raman Raghav, whether it's even bad news. So though again, film is not that good news for me. But yeah, again, but as a performer and as the way he carry himself, and from where he's coming in the film fraternity, and then action director, not doing it as an action film like action director department, doing as a actor performing all over the mainstream films. It's very difficult to
Yes,
sustain.
yes.
So I think it's very for filmmakers and not for a non-filmmaker also. It's very inspiring how you like make your spot in film industry with or without any background. So I think for me, Vicky will be the like my choice.
Okay.
Others are good, but I would prefer Vicky only
Okay.
because I have.
Okay. Ricky, coming to you now, Janvi is on this list, another film actor, and not just, the cinema or the films that she was associated with this year. It had to do with more than just films. It had to do with the conversations that she had had, whether she was going viral, ki, "Arey, ye idli haath se khati hai," and she's so normal, she's not like those fancy film people. Do you think all of that relatability factor really worked for Janvi to make it to this list?
That to me does not make her a youth icon for this year. That the reasons that you mentioned. I think she's a good actress. I think she's quite amazing. She carries herself really well, and she's quite influential. But at the same time, I think 2024 was not a breakout year for her, in my opinion.
Okay.
And but when it comes to Vicky Kaushal, coming back to him, because Tauba Tauba is mentioned a lot during this conversation, my my take on this is that there was a choreographer, there was a composer, there was a filmmaker involved in that whole thing. And if Vicky Kaushal was replaced by Hrithik Roshan in that particular song, then Tauba Tauba would have become equally popular, or maybe even more popular.
And one final word before we let you all go. Jaya Kishori is on this list of nominees. What do you think she brings to the table? Mayank, do you want to go with this?
No, as I said, with the case of Jaya and Nancy,
Yeah.
what this particular award category is inspired is for me to actually go and look them up a little better. And I intend to read up a little more on
All
them.
right, thank you so much. And it is a diverse, nominee list that we have as far as the youth icons are concerned. You guys are youth icons in your own right. And look, what a diverse panel we've had. We've had a film critic, a fashion designer, a Grammy winner and music composer, a film director, all of them together to discuss who will make it to the entertainment and youth icon category. You are Indian of the year in your own right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Well, that was a very, very enriching conversation, and thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.